Well, this is the second video on Lila Rose going on the Whatever podcast, talking to some debased women on here. Good woman, the Lila Rose, she's a good woman. Hey, if you like this content, though, give me a like, subscribe to my channel. But the second video I wanted to do is I think we have a wrong idea about what Christian marriage is, what biblical Christian marriage is. And Lila brings this out. Lila, a good woman, but I don't think she has the right idea of what biblical Christian marriage is. Let's go to it.
This is something I'm super passionate about because I think there's been a version of maybe fundamentalist Christianity that people have experienced that they felt really hurt by. And so they've kind of lashed out against it and rejected it. And I see this
A lot of feelings.
actually.
A lot of feelings.
The reality is, I was raised Protestant, went through this kind of semi-agnostic phase, kind of like you went through, and then I ended up Catholic after doing a ton of study and a ton of research and just being convinced by the beauty of it. And it was learning about how men and women are equal dignity, they're equal partners, learning about sex, what God's design is, which is a beautiful one, that it is about pleasure. It absolutely is about pleasure. And pleasure, it's not dirty or shameful, but it's also about procreation and the ability to bring life into the world. And it's designed to be within marriage, where you're in a lifelong public commitment to someone that you're going to give yourself 110% to.
So Lila Rose, she's saying in marriage, we have equal dignity, 100% true. We're all made in the image of God, so we have equal dignity. I don't know. I don't think anybody argues that. Like, I don't know what church she has ever been to or what book she's ever picked up that would argue differently from that. But she says we are equal partners. Whoa, time out, time out, time out. Now, is that what the old book says that we read when we go to a Christian church, that we are equal partners? Now, this comes from, of course, the egalitarian marriage model, which is probably better than the complementarian marriage model, actually. But egalitarian marriage, is that biblical? We are equal partners. And then she later says we give ourselves 110% to each other. Now let's go back to Genesis. The woman was created to be the helper to the man, to help him fulfill the mission of being fruitful, multiplying, filling the earth, subduing the earth. They are both to have dominion, subdue the earth. That's true. But she uniquely can help him be fruitful and multiply. She's given to him to be his helper. That is 100% scripture. Okay. So equal partners. Are we equal in the sight of God? Yes. But I think there's more of a captain and the first mate model, right? There's a hierarchy that the Bible clearly describes. 1 Corinthians 11, Paul writes to the Corinthians church who was wildly in sin, who was living out of their minds in sin. And he writes in 1 Corinthians 11, and he says, the man was not created for the woman, but the woman was created for the man. So are we equal in the sight of God? Yes. Are we equal image bearers of God? Yes. Do we have equal dignity? Yes. Nobody argues that I've ever heard in the Christian church. I've never heard an argument against that. Are we equal partners? I think that's misleading. That's misleading. That, and especially when we give ourselves, like when we're in marriage, we give ourselves 110% to each other. It sounds like marriage is the goal of our life. Now, again, I go back to Genesis. What is the goal? It's to subdue the earth, to take dominion, to have dominion over the earth, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, right? There's not this like, my marriage is the point of my life. Like I think that's misleading here. And I think that's misleading for a reason, that there's this romantic love is the point of my life, is kind of what we're saying here. I think it's kind of the under thread. Now, I could be wrong, but that seems to be the under thread. Here's another reason why I think that. Let's go on. We'll go on in the video. This comes up again.
And I think sex is supposed to be it is something sacred and beautiful and amazing, and it's designed for two people who are just passionately in love and committed to each other publicly for life. And also, sex can bring human beings into the world.
So Lila, she says again, here's this idea of romantic love here, and this is presented, I think, as the biblical Christian view of marriage, this romantic love. She says sex is for people who are passionately in love. That is not a biblical idea. That is not a biblical idea. Sex is for marriage. And I think there's this idea in the church and certainly in the culture that what sanctifies sex is romantic love, is what's being, you are passionately in love, and that's what's sanctified. That means that you are having legitimate sex if you are passionately in love. If you're passionate in love, then hey, go ahead. And she's not saying that. She's saying marriage, you must then be married, passionately in love, then have sex, right? That is not what sanctifies sex. Scripture teaches marriage is what sanctifies sex. You don't have to be passionately in love. Marriage is what sanctifies sex. Now, that's going to be a hard sell to all these women that just want to pitter patter. Oh, I just want to, right? That's a hard sell. But that's biblical. That's biblical. Romantic love, passionate love does not sanctify sex. What sanctifies sex is marriage. That is biblical. And I think that's where we get it wrong here in society, where we're teaching, especially in the church. Now, society gets a lot of things wrong, but in the church, if we're teaching that a legitimate marriage means that you are passionately in love, we're selling something that's not biblical. That is not biblical. The word for romantic love is eros in the Bible. There's three kinds of love. There's agape love, that's God's kind of love. There's eros love, that's romantic love. And then there's brotherly love, phileo love. There's three kinds of love in the Bible. Eros is nowhere seen in the New Testament. That word does not even show up in the New Testament. So anytime in the New Testament we're reading about marriage and love between husband and wife, it's always in the context of agape love. It is not talking about romantic love. So we have this expectation, and we're selling something that is not in Scripture. And I think that's really dangerous to us. Lila Rose is selling that as well. I'm getting from the context here. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm right that and that's so common. This is no fault of hers. This is so common in the church that we sell romantic love as legitimate love in a marriage. And that's not true. That is not what the Bible teaches. Anyway, hey, if you're liking this content, give me a like, subscribe, give me a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Maybe I'm off base. I don't know. Let me know. With all that said, though, we got to get the ship turned around here. We got to get the ship turned around with the captain and the first mate. Christ is winning. He is building his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Post Millennial Man.